You know, one of the greatest things for me today, it's been fabulous speakers, great listening to everybody. No joke, she's right here. Everybody panders to Irene, but I have to say this. First thing that I'm sitting over there, right where Bobby is sitting there, and Irene walks up to me this morning and says, Shawn, come out here, and pulls me. That's a weird hallway out there. She pulls me out there and says, I have to ask you a philosophy question. I was like, that's pretty cool. Irene wants to ask me a philosophy question? Okay. Super awesome, because you ever have this voice in your head that's like telling you, this is what I think, you know, what I'm living in my head is that moment in A Few Good Men when Tom Cruise, and he's pouring the water and his hand shaking, he was going to attack Jack Nicholson on the stand, and then Demi Moore was like, don't do it, right? And he was at that. Well, you ever have that voice in your head that says like, say this crazy stuff? And then there's this other voice that says like, don't do it. Like that's me every time I speak. Like there's this voice that's like, tell them what they need to hear. But then I'm thinking like, yeah, but that's not what they've heard so far. Like we've talked about, and it's not a knock on anybody because it's not like that we haven't been told great things, but typically a stereotypical Shawn Dill presentation makes you feel quite uncomfortable, which I'm happy that, everybody was commenting about how great Lacey did, in the bathroom, and Bobby said that, she set the tone, and that was great. If you want more of Lacey, just as Dooley was talking about, we've put her in that Cairo Sushi World. She's espousing tons of philosophy, talking about that. That's where you can find her. She talked this morning about the story. What is the story? The second part of that is like, well, then how do we tell the story? How do we get the story out? And what's tough is that we haven't done a good job of that in chiropractic in our entire history. About 10 days ago, I was in Australia doing a little tour, going around talking to the chiropractors there about very similar topics. And while I was there, I read the news that Sears Roebuck is closing. Did you guys see that? They're going to file for bankruptcy. On October 15th, it was announced that they're going to have to liquidate. And it's a very interesting thing because I started thinking about this. I remember Sears Roebuck, what they did is they innovated. And so one of the rules, and I was so worried. I said, Carlos, what are you going to talk about? You know what Carlos told me? He said, I'm going to talk about the principles. And then he came up and talked about business and franchising, which is perfect because then this fits a little bit better. And that was confirmation for me from the voice that said, don't just talk about chiropractic philosophy. We've got to talk about how we get this message out. And so optimize and then innovate. So first of all, when Carlos had us repeating, optimize and then innovate. So oftentimes we get so excited as chiropractors and we want to innovate. We see these cool things, we just want to do them right away. Optimize what's working for you first, then innovate. Here's what Sears Roebuck did. They innovated because they changed the way that they told us about what it is that they had. And they put out this catalog. Do you guys remember the Sears Roebuck catalog? When I was young, when I was like 6, like you would get it and it was like this big, thick book, and it was awesome because it had everything that was known to man in the book. So you just, for me, as a young boy, you just flipped past the women's clothes because that was boring. And then there was like the tools and then the toys. And that was like how you shopped. Like you would show your mom, like, I want that for Christmas. Yeah, it's only March. I know, but this is what I want. And like you would section that out, and then mom would have to figure out how to get it. Do you understand that they had the catalog before they had the stores? The catalog was first. Then they were like, hey, we should put the stuff in a place where people could come to buy it. And so we could put it in a store, and then people came and they purchased that. Now, they're gone. Do you know that Toys R Us also is closing? They're already closed. They're gone. Do you know what happened to Toys R Us? So in the year 2000, Toys R Us signed an exclusive deal. This is great. This is genius. An exclusive deal with Amazon, where they were the exclusive toy providers to Amazon. Now, Amazon is Amazon, so they just did whatever they wanted. And in 2004, Toys R Us sued Amazon because they were no longer the exclusive toy provider. Amazon was selling other people's toys on Amazon. And so Toys R Us sues Amazon, and they actually won a judgment. The judge was livid at Amazon. You can't do that. What are you doing? Toys R Us was so brilliant that they went on in 2006 and pressed the issue further to ask that they be allowed out of their contract. Right, do you understand what this? So they said, we no longer want to deal with Amazon. And at that time, it came out that as part of their original contract, Toys R Us, because they were exclusive to Amazon, they were not allowed to distribute their own toys online. So Toys R Us didn't have online distribution until 2006 when they were freed from Amazon. And then when they were freed from Amazon, what did Amazon do? They crushed them. They were like, I pity you. We're going to sell every toy known to man for very cheap on Amazon. And boom, they effectively killed Toys R Us. This is all going somewhere. Sears is gone. Toys R Us is gone. Ever see this show, Shark Tank? So if I was selling hammers, if I went on to Shark Tank and I was like, I have the world's most amazing hammer, known to man, just one shot. What's unique about it is one shot, boom, you can nail any nail. It saves you time because you don't have to waste hitting it over and over. It's one shot. It's the way that it's designed. It's a $150 hammer. They asked me how much does it cost. It costs $50. They asked me how have you sold them. I say I've gone around to trade shows all around the United States. They sell them at construction shows, home and garden shows. I'm selling them hand over fist. The reason why I'm here, though, is because I can't keep selling them at trade shows. That's the stereotypical Shark Tale pitch. What do I need? What am I there? I don't actually need money because I have money. They're always there on Shark Tank. The majority of the people that go on Shark Tank don't actually need money. What they need is what? So I'm getting it from the sharks because I dream that the sharks have connections that will help me to put my hammer where? Home Depot. And that's actually one of the questions they would ask. How come your hammer's not in Home Depot? And usually the answer is because I don't have the connections. I've been running around, like I've been trying, I've made some phone calls, I can't get it into Home Depot. And they would say, if you understand this, if you're following this now, in that example, with my hammer, I don't have a hammer or a product problem. I've got an amazing product. And people that show up on Shark Tank generally have an amazing product or service, but what they are suffering from is not an undercapitalization problem for the most part, it's a distribution problem. Did you get that? Let me make a bold statement that you need to hear. How many of you are worried about chiropractic right now? About the future of chiropractic? Here's the deal. Arguing about what it is and what it isn't, arguing about what the story is and what it isn't, buying these things because we're going to argue about utilization, we don't have any of those problems. Those problems would be solved if we had effective distribution. We have a distribution issue in chiropractic. Now, let me explain to you. Here's what you learned. Because you learned from a mentor who told you that the way to be successful in chiropractic was how? Go out and tell the story. How? One person at a time. You got to go out and you got to knock on people's doors. You've got to Sears Roebuck your way to chiropractic success. You've got to show up and then once you get really good at that, then what you should do is tell the story to a group of people by doing what? Doing a talk. Go to a company and do a talk. Listen, this is not effective distribution. This is going around the country and selling hammers one-offs at home and garden shows. Do you understand? That's what we've been doing. Now here's the problem, because this is what's in your head. I know what you're thinking. He's going to say that we need to do more media. We need to be on television and the radio. He's going to say we need to do more Facebook videos. He's going to say we need to do Facebook ads and Yelp, and we need to monitor our reviews, right? That's what's in your head, right? No, because for the longest time, I know that when I was in school, 1995, the biggest dream for chiropractors is we've got to get a chiropractor to be on Oprah. If we could just have a chiropractor on the doctors, then it would fix everything. The day that we're on Dr. Oz, oh, it's going to be killer. Well, we've had all that stuff, yes, except for Oprah because she quit. But did that fix your practice? Wow, people are walking in, hey, I seen a guy on Dr. Oz, I'm here for chiropractic. And then it became social media. If we could just get a viral video, then we would win. You ever seen that crooked kid from Australia? Like, that's the most viral video. Are people storming into your practice now? Like, well, now you guys did it. You got a viral video. I'm in. Did that fix it? Right? And so we hang our hats on these ideas because it's just this shiny thing that we're like, hey, if we could just get that, then we're going to win. And we chase them down because we think that's the solution. If I just could get on Shark Tank, I would win. Listen, it's not being on Shark Tank. It's not being on the doctors. We have to own the distribution. You know why you're so mad at the pharmaceutical companies? It's not because they're pharmaceutical companies, nor that they're rich, but because they own their own distribution channels through who? To the MDs. They own the distribution of the products. They actually own it. That's what we're fighting against. Not against the company. We're fighting against distribution. We are at an inequality in distribution of the message. And we're really not trying to fix it because MDs don't go out and tell people about pills one person at a time. That would be ineffective. And there's really not these viral videos about, oh, look, I couldn't, and I just, oh, and then that's not a viral video, right? The people aren't all excited about that. And I see these discussions all the time. Oh, should we post pictures or videos of us adjusting, or should we not post pictures of videos of us adjusting? Here's the bottom line, it's irrelevant. It doesn't do anything. Videos of you adjusting or videos of you not adjusting doesn't change a damn thing. Being on the doctors doesn't change anything. People aren't like, well, now that you're on the doctors you're in, oh, I saw your Facebook ad, now I'm ready to do this. Right? Do you see how we think? We're not understanding, and Carlos said, emulating big business, we're not understanding what drives the needle. Now, you're not going to fully pick up on this, but you can Google this and figure this out, and then I'm going to give you some solutions, some easy take-home solutions that I hope that you'll apply. While I was in Australia, the Duke and Duchess were in Australia, and I was fascinated by how crazy the Australians are over the Duke and Duchess. Like they show up, and every day they wanted to know where they were and what they were doing. It is so much so, Google this is nuts, that when the Duchess shows up wearing an outfit in the morning, people see her, they announce, oh, she's wearing Claire's Design. Claire's Design website will go down, because they will break it by the volume of people trying to buy that particular dress. She wore a regular, I don't know, like a regular Land's End or like a blazer that was like from a normal store, like a store at the mall, and they broke the internet over this blazer. It doesn't matter, every day. That is distribution. That is if I was in the, and I was told the Australians, can you imagine if they said, look, the itinerary has been modified slightly because the Duke and Duchess were feeling a little bit tired, under the weather, stressed, and they felt it important to get their nervous system checked, so they've stopped over at Dr. Adams' practice just to get checked. How impactful would that be in that country? Here's the thing, and watch. You want to gain favor in your community? You know who would be great if they said that chiropractic was awesome? Joe Rogan. But you know what? Chiropractors do what to Joe Rogan? Hate him because his perspective is negative. Rather than try and change it, what did we do? We did the chiropractic way. We yelled at him, we threatened him, we write nasty things about him, which only furthers to deepen his thought that you're a bunch of morons. But once somebody adopts a position that you're a moron and then changes the position to you're not a moron, how powerful is that? And what's crazy is just a pot-smoking UFC announcer probably has more influence and pull over a certain demographic than, say, Dr. Oz when it comes to health. Like, do you know how crazy Joe Rogan's perspectives are when it comes to health and how many people listen to him? What about Tim Ferriss? How crazy are his perspectives when it comes to health? And how many people listen to him? If you're in the Bay Area and Tim Ferriss was like, I recommend that chiropractor, what would it do to that office? Because Tim Ferriss just says, like, I recommend this tea, and they break the internet. Right? We're not looking truly for true distribution. We're not looking for people that buy in. Right? And we saw the example of a patient that went on CNN and then shares a testimonial, which is fantastic, but that's only effective for the people that testimonial will actually impact and influence. Does that make sense? If I could give you one strategy right now that could potentially double your practice and double your revenue, would that be worth it in 10 minutes that we have? But my support is always conditional. I don't do anything for free. If we apply this and it works, how many of you are supporters of Sherman? Here's my condition. If we apply this and it works, those of you that did not raise your hand, would you become a Sherman Regent? It's $1,000. If I can make you $1,000 in 10 minutes, then I suck big time. 2, if you raised your hand and it works, will you bump up one level? And just message me and be like, I did it because it worked. We need influence. I'm going to suggest that you look at distribution and how you distribute your particular service, your message in your community. I'm going to say that this is all caveat. The condition is you must know your ideal client and your target market like the back of your hand. I was having dinner with the Cohens one night with Sarah, who had the touching story, worked at Lululemon at the time, and I was like, you know what's genius? Write this down. This is your homework assignment. You are going to Google, this is the Google search, Lululemon and ocean. Lululemon and Ocean. Click on the first thing that comes up, and you're going to read Lululemon's description of their ideal client. If you do not have that level of description for your office, then you're at a massive disadvantage, and these strategies will not work. So Lululemon and Ocean, they've identified this mythical Ocean, and they've outlined the characteristics of her. She's in her 30s. She's basically Lacey. She's in her 30s. She makes money. She's engaged but not married. She loves to travel, and she dedicates 1 hour to work out every day. Fascinating strategy. The women in their 40s wish that they were her. The women in their 20s aspire to one day be like her, right? And so with that, they identified that they have an hour to work out every day. So who influences this woman, Ocean? Yoga instructors, Pilates instructors. And so what Lululemon said is, let's put all the yoga instructors, Pilates instructors, CrossFit people, let's give them a massive discount and outfit them in our clothes, because Ocean will look at that and say, oh my gosh, where'd you buy that? And Ocean will say, they'll say Lululemon, and Ocean will go and buy it. That's how the world works. That's how it works. And they wouldn't say like the quality and talk about with a fiber blend or anything, because arguably, if you're a Lululemon fan, you're going to get really pissed, but arguably the quality of Lululemon is questionable compared to the price. And that wasn't the thing. So many of you are hung up on, let me tell you how it works. Let me tell you about chiropractic. Let me get the bones. You know, there's top two bones, and it's the cradle, and the head sits in the cradle, and the nervous system. Like, they don't care about that. Here's the other thing. An influencer, in order to serve as a distribution channel, does not even actually have to consume your product. They don't have to be a patient. They just have to what? Like you a lot. So how are we going to get them to like you? We're going to identify Ocean, and you're going to identify your Ocean, your ideal client. You're going to identify 5 people in your community who massively influence Ocean. If Ocean was a devout Christian, would the pastor of the church have massive influence over Ocean? Okay, great. So let's select the pastor of a church. I want the pastor of the church to become an advocate for me. How do I do that? I don't even know them, and they don't know me. Number one, you're going to stalk them on social media. You need to get to know them and find out everything that they like and they dislike. How many of you in this room are friends of mine on Facebook? How many of you that are friends of mine have seen a post that says, we love getting gifts? Have you ever seen that post? All right, then you just go back through and look at it. I'm doing that and very intentionally. I love all the haters, because haters are stupid. They don't even know what the hell we're doing. I'm feeding you good intel when I do that, because these are people that are sending me stuff because they would like to leverage me as an influence. They're trying to gain me as a distribution channel. So what they do is they send appropriate gifts. If you wanted me to advocate for you, you would not send me a stuffed Pokemon, because I would get that in the mail and I'd be like, what the heck is this? But if you sent me, I have received in the mail iPads, so Apple products. I received this last 3 months a brand new driver, which is a totally inappropriate gift for a golfer. You don't just send them a golf club, but that said to me, like, you got me, and you were like, I want you to hit this driver. I love golf. I play golf all the time. So I've gotten, hey, try these top level. These are the Callaway, the Titleist, and one other brand. These are their top line golf balls. I want you to hit them. Let me know what you think. I've received wine. I've received bourbon. Appropriate gifts. And how did they know that that would be appropriate? Because they watched me on social media and they were like, the guy golfs a lot, the guy drinks too much, or whatever, right? They just figured out what the target was. Now, if I get a bottle of bourbon, a nice bottle of bourbon in the mail, and it's from Pete, what do I say? I open it up and I'm like, because it's not a Pokemon, it's a bottle of bourbon, it's Pappy Van Winkle. I'm like, holy smokes, this is great. And what do I say in my head? Who's Pete? Who's this guy, Pete? This guy's great. He sent me bourbon in the mail. 2 weeks later, Pete calls me on the phone. Now, normally if Pete called me on the phone, would I take his phone call? No. They say it's Pete on the phone. What do I say? The guy that sent the bourbon? Put him on. Hello? Hey, Shawn, did you get that bourbon I sent you? Yes, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Hey, I'm glad that you like it. Listen, while I have you on the phone, I was wondering if it might be possible, because I practice up in New Jersey. Next time you're in town for New Beginnings, maybe we could get together for lunch. What's the answer? Yes. Now, if he hadn't sent me the bourbon, what's the answer? I don't even know who the hell you are. We target the person, we have to create rapport, and then we've got to get them to actually engage. Can I invite you to lunch? This is an obligatory lunch. Now, when you take me to lunch, where do you take me? Nice place. So that when Gina says, this is where we're going, I'm like, holy smokes, seriously? She says, yes. She says, my treat. We go to lunch. Lunch is more appropriate. She goes all out. Order whatever you want. She orders a nice bottle of wine, or we have an amazing lunch. And then her goal is one thing and one thing only, to get me to do what? agree to do another lunch. So don't tell me anything about you. Don't tell me anything about, I was in Australia, this guy called, and he was like, hey, I saw you're in Melbourne. Can we get together real quick? I was like, yeah, sure. And so we get together, and I didn't know who he was, and he had some mutual friends. He's like, oh, your friends talk great. We all get together. The guy came in, he sat down, he introduced himself. No joke, he pulled out a book. I was like, oh, you got a book. And it was a presentation. He was doing the sales presentation out of this book. I mean, and I was like, whoa. And then at the end, he was like, so what do you say? And I was like, well, you know, we'll think about it. Because I was like, what? And I called my friends. I was like, what the heck did you do? Wait, why did you do that to me? I'm in Australia, I have a sales presentation. I'm going to buy something in Australia. Like, what do you, timeshare? Like, what's going on? And so you can't just jump right in like that. We need to build rapport. And at the end, Gina's going to say, this was great. Shawn, if you like this restaurant, you got to let me take you to this other restaurant. It's twice as good. What am I going to say? Great, next time I'm going to tell, let's do that. And if I keep doing that, eventually, all I have to do is like her. I don't have to know about the atlas and the axis and the nervous system and the power that made the body heals the body. And then it's likely, I have referred, in my own world, I have referred gobs of clients to a woman in Australia that does social media work for people. I've never used her service myself, never. But I've referred clients and the clients love it. And I like her. She's really nice. I've had dinner with her. We've done presentations together, but I don't use the service. That's not a prerequisite. If I could get 5 people to advocate for you, and if the pastor of the church just was like, hey man, I just got to have dinner with this lovely girl. She's a doctor. And man, when I'm hearing the stories of what's going on in her office, listen, so many of you come up here on Sundays and you pray for health and you pray for this, you pray for all these things, and you got to still do your part. I recommend that you go see Gina. How powerful would that be? If we could do that times 5, and each of those people gave you 2 new patients, you would get 10 new patients every month just from distribution alone. How often do you have to eat lunch? Then eat lunch every day with a new distribution channel. Stop thinking in terms of just 1 to 1 to 1. Find very powerful people in your community, win them over to your message, and let them go out, and they don't have to tell the story. Let them just tell people how cool you are. And when people come in, then you pick it up with all of the stuff we've learned, and you start to tell the story, you start to build your practice. That's the new way to Amazon your competitors. Thank you guys, have a great day.